What if Earth had rings like Saturn? At first, it sounds beautiful. Imagine looking up at the night sky and seeing giant glowing rings stretching across the horizon. But beyond the beauty, what would actually happen if our planet suddenly had rings like Saturn? First, let's talk about what the rings are. Saturn's rings are made up of ice, dust, and rocks, ranging in size from tiny grains to massive chunks. If Earth had similar rings, they would orbit around the equator. That means no matter where you lived, you'd always see them in the sky, a permanent cosmic decoration. During the day, the rings would sparkle like pale bands reflecting sunlight. At night, they'd glow faintly like a second Milky Way. Imagine romantic dates under the rings, or kids growing up never knowing a plain, empty sky. Humanity would definitely get used to staring upward. But let's get scientific. The rings would block sunlight in some areas, especially near the equator. This could drastically change our climate. Cities near the equator might live under giant shadows with cooler temperatures. Meanwhile, areas without the shadow could get even hotter. Weather patterns would go wild, some regions freezing, others burning. Then there's space travel. Satellites and rockets would constantly risk smashing into chunks of rock and ice. GPS might not exist, and space agencies would have nightmares navigating through the rings. Forget about easy communication. Your phone's satellite signal might just bounce off a giant rock. Now, let's think about culture. Humans love symbols. With rings in the sky, entire religions and myths would form around them. Nations might design flags with glowing rings. Poets would write endlessly about their beauty. And of course, influencers would find ways to sell ring selfies. But there's a darker side. The rings wouldn't last forever. Collisions between rocks would slowly send fragments falling to Earth. Imagine random chunks of icy debris crashing down, causing chaos. Insurance companies would go crazy trying to calculate ring damage. And if the rings were made of reflective ice, they could make nights unnaturally bright. No more starry skies. Astronomers would complain that the rings ruin telescopes. Entire constellations would disappear behind the glowing bands. Humanity's view of the universe would be permanently distorted. Daily life would also change. Imagine farmers tracking ring shadows to predict the weather. Students distracted during class, staring out windows at shimmering arcs. Entire tourist industries would develop. Ring view hotels and equator shadow tours. Our calendars might even include ring light festivals. But here's the kicker. A stable ring system around Earth is unlikely to last long. Gravity and atmosphere would eventually drag debris down, raining fire from the sky. Over thousands of years, the rings would vanish, leaving humanity confused, nostalgic, and maybe relieved. So, what if Earth had rings like Saturn? It would be breathtaking, terrifying, and inconvenient all at once. Beautiful skies, chaotic weather, dangerous space travel, and endless cultural fascination. In short, Earth with rings would look like a cosmic masterpiece, but living under them might be a very different story.